This is Fearlessly Fertile. Welcome to the Fearlessly Fertile podcast, episode 359. Healing power of belonging, how the right community can improve fertility outcomes. Loves, can you believe that we are truly in the full swing of 2026? I wanted to continue our conversation on community by really deep diving into the subject of how belonging and feeling connected to others on this journey can really actually have an impact on our hormones and therefore can help us improve our outcomes on the fertility journey. And when you think about how belonging can impact outcomes on this journey, it isn't just emotional, it's biological, measurable, and deeply impactful. Let's start this conversation about how a sense of belonging can truly impact your hormones and therefore your fertility by starting off with what the hell belonging means. Because you could say to yourself, well, I have a sense of belonging in my relationship, possibly my family, maybe at work. But what I'm talking about is a deep and abiding conviction that you belong to a real community. Because at work, you might not be telling everybody about what you're going through. You might not be telling your partner what you're going through. And you certainly might not be telling your entire family the truth about what you're going through. We all have this sort of surface level sense of belonging, but do we really belong? Do we really have that kind of connection that can make all the difference in the world? That sense of connection that says it's okay for us to be living the way that we're living. It's okay for us to have this challenge in our lives and that we're not less than because we face this. That's a critical piece of a sense of belonging is really about acceptance. That gives us a robust sense of belonging. That's really what we're talking about here. And like I mentioned in last week's episode, that's not just any community. That is something that is conscious and something that is actively curated. Because you could have friends and family that you never feel acceptance from, that you never feel a sense of peace from. So you have to challenge this idea, like, do I feel like I really belong? And when you find that curated community, it is gold because it's like you don't have to explain yourself to anyone. You just are accepted for who you are, for what you are, for the truth of what you're experiencing. I bet a few of you just hearing me talk about that are going to exhale at the idea of actually being in that kind of real community where you do have a sense of belonging, separate of anyone's expectations or any roles that you might have played or any characters that you might have to play in your family. And let's be honest, we all play characters at some point in our lives until we wake up and fully accept who we are. You might be the good girl. You might be the good one, the responsible one, the one that cleans up all the messes. That all goes away when you truly have a sense of belonging in the way that I'm sharing. Let's go back to talking about why a sense of belonging can impact us biologically. Data shows that a sense of belonging activates oxytocin. Oxytocin is important because it is a hormone that can enhance fertility. We also know that a sense of support, a sense of belonging can reduce high cortisol. A controlled study from Frontiers in Psychology dating back to 2019 had demonstrated that there were significant reductions in cortisol levels when there was supportive community around somebody that was going through fertility treatments. Whether you're doing treatments or not, having a sense of community puts you at ease. You feel less like you're in constant fight or flight. And just think about how good it feels. Like, even just take a moment right now and think about, man, if I had a close-knit community that I didn't have to explain myself to, that was going to love me regardless of what happened, and I could truly count on, you can't tell me for 1 second that you would not feel an overwhelming sense of relief if you had a crew around you that just got it, that you didn't have to explain yourself to or feel competitive around, but that you truly had this sense of being seen, heard, and supported. So much of the stress that we create for ourselves on this journey comes from that sense of isolation. Nobody's going to get it. I'm a freak show. Or all the other stories that we tell ourselves that create that kind of just quiet stress that is constantly in the background. Is somebody going to find out? Is my partner going to leave me? Are all the things that my mom said about me true? Just kidding, harping on moms there. This journey does a number on our sense of esteem. And when we're going through something that feels very unique, and even though we know the numbers our 1 in 5 couples are facing fertility challenges. The reality is there's so much shame and guilt shrouding this subject of fertility that when we're going through it, we can feel this intense sense of shame that we just don't want to share with other people. But just think about how different a day on this journey would feel if you had a legit real community around you of other highly accomplished women. It's like, I've got my tribe. I know that I could be going through it and I don't have to explain myself to anyone, that I can be this incredibly accomplished person at work and I can have this challenge and nobody is freaking judging you because those women are equally as accomplished, if not more, and totally get it. Very successful people are very rarely judging people who are putting their back into it and are getting started because they know and remember what it was like to just get started in business or in their profession. So they tend to be the most generous, the most kind. And they're not going to be judging people who are really trying to make something better because they've made something better in their own lives. The only ones that are actually going to be judging you are probably the people that have never actually gone for a dream. This is why curated community is so important. Not only do we know that having that sense of belonging can help drop high cortisol levels, we know that it's going to be releasing oxytocin, that feel-good hormone that we could all use a little more of. And we also know that community gives us a sense of safety. We don't have to be in this constant state of vigilance or fight or flight. It's actually very comforting. That can also contribute to us lowering our cortisol, and here's why that's important. We know that high cortisol can disrupt ovulation, menstrual regulation, progesterone production, and can impact implantation. That very important time when that embryo is working hard and deciding whether or not it's going to stay or go. So let's talk about oxytocin a little bit more. Oxytocin is released in positive social interactions, bonding, and shared experiences. Oxytocin counteracts cortisol and promotes healthy ovulation, improved uterine blood flow, emotional regulation, and helps us get into a more parasympathetic nervous system state so that we can actually rest and receive. Your ability to rest and receive opens you up to conceive. Research published in the Journal of Assisted Reproduction and Genetics demonstrated that higher perceived social support correlates with lower anxiety and higher psychological resilience, particularly amongst women who are going through IVF. And we know this is important because anxiety can elevate norepinephrine and cortisol, which, as you should know by now, can impact your reproductive function and, more importantly, uterine receptivity. Your uterus has to be saying, hey, baby, I'm ready to receive you. And we've got to be doing everything that we can to set our uterus up to be that warm, cushy, receiving, accepting place for our precious embryos, whether we're trying to conceive naturally or conceiving through IVF or IUI. Researchers have shown that increased levels of oxytocin happen during times of social bonding that are meaningful. This means that making connections can have a positive impact on you when you're trying to conceive. It allows us to make the connection that higher oxytocin, a sense of community, a sense of belonging, can create a biological advantage when we are trying to conceive. Now, when you have community and you have that soft place to fall, if you will, there is this background sense of peace that we all crave when we're living this journey, but far too few of us actually ever feel. That's because we might have a mismatch between the community we desire and the community that we actually find. I mean, think about it. There are millions of successful women out there that are coming into this challenge and are probably thinking, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. Or, hey, I've been successful at all these things and now I'm struggling. Like, what are people going to think? Then we find ourselves in a place of isolation. And when we're isolated, our cortisol goes up and our sense of safety goes down. When we are under high levels of stress, our hypothalamic, pituitary, and gonadal axis gets all jacked up. Our pituitary gland is key to signaling hormone production. And when we're in a state of fight or flight, things get thrown off at a time when the last thing we need is for them to get thrown off. We often find ourselves playing catch up when it comes to our hormones on this journey. So anything that you can be doing to increase your sense of community, really have that sense of deep belonging that I was talking about, that really can only come from being in community with other women who share your values, share your level of success, and really make it okay for you to want it all and have it all, frankly, is gold. It's one of the most critically important things you can possibly do for yourself and really set your hormones up for that kind of healing. When you can just lean back and receive, which we know that those of us who are lovably type A, a little bit of control freaky, have a hard time doing. But when you look around the room and you're like, man, I'm with some amazing women who I really admire, and having that kind of acceptance from women like that, not women who could never fully get what it's like to have the kind of responsibility, the kind of accomplishment that you have achieved in your life, and really get what it means to be somebody that puts her back into her work and her quality of life. That's rare air, baby. And you shouldn't have to settle for less. The other thing that I wanted to share with you is that a sense of connection can regulate your nervous system. This is called the polyvagal theory. Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory shows that social engagement cues a sense of safety. This safety allows our bodies to exit fight or flight and get back into a state of homeostasis, a sense of peace, a sense of calm. And this can actually help us enter a reproductive state. And think about it, ladies, when you're in that constant state of fight or flight, and it's low key, so many of us get used to fight or flight that we don't even recognize it as fight or flight. You might be thinking to yourself, I feel pretty calm. I feel pretty much at peace. But if you checked it, you'd probably realize, wow, it feels like peace because I'm just freaking used to being at red line all the time. But that puts us in a depleted state. It makes us less receptive reproductively. And it's not at all what you want when you are putting yourself in a position of an IVF cycle, an IUI cycle, or you're trying to conceive naturally. Look, there's so many things that we can't control on this journey that your state is something that you can. When you realize that you have spent a significant amount of time in fight or flight and struggle and not enough, this really rises to the top of your level of priorities, baby, because if you're quietly sending the signal to your body, hey, it ain't safe to conceive this baby, it doesn't matter how much meditation or how much kale you eat, because at the belief system level, you don't believe that this is going to happen, or you don't believe it's safe to try again. Keep that mind at the forefront, baby. My question to you, as you process all this information, is do you actually feel a sense of belonging? Be honest. Do you really belong amongst your friends with this aspect of your life? Do you feel that sense of belonging with your partner, or are you doing your work and their work? No judgment. Just ask the questions. And then when you think about people at work or your family, like, do you really have a sense of belonging? Or are you simply quietly suffering in silence, drifting amongst these different groups of people in your life, never feeling like you can drop the armor, never feeling like you actually belong, but that you sometimes feel quite lonely even when you're surrounded by people? This is critically important because if you want to start to give yourself a chance to heal what's going on inside of you, heal your hormones, the science is clear. We need to have a sense of belonging. Ask yourself, do I truly have a sense of belonging somewhere on this journey that is actually a reflection of what I truly desire, which is key. Not a sense of belonging that you just sort of settle for, but something that actually matches your heart's desire to feel seen, to feel heard, to be loved, to be accepted, and not just be someone that, well, so-and-so has a problem over here, we'll just let her be because we don't know what to do. But a real sense of community that's going to shower you with the kind of support, affection, and real understanding that you crave. Bottom line here, mama, belonging is biology. It impacts your hormones, your nervous system, your reproductive system, emotional security, and overall fertility outcomes. This is not even in dispute. Your body is constantly listening to the environment that you put it in, whether it's at work, with your friends, with your family, with your partner. It's constantly roving around, asking the question, am I safe? When you have a sense of belonging, you are sending a strong signal. It is safe for me, not only to be alive, but to conceive this baby. And the right environment, mamas, can change everything. Do you have a sense of belonging? Tell the truth. There's no shame in your game. Because if you want to improve that, if you want real community around you that is not only high vibrational, but high achieving, and women that really get what it's like to be at the top and be on this journey, go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com, and apply for an interview there. My methodology through our programs has helped women all over the world finally have a sense of belonging, have the kind of community that lifts us all up, and learn to think, believe, and take action like a woman who succeeds. Go to my website, www.frommaybe2baby.com. The Fearlessly Fertile community is legendary for like-minded women coming together who are not only accomplished in their professions, but are truly going for it in their lives. Go to www.frommaybe2baby.com, because if you're not leveraging the power of mindset coupled with community, you've got a gaping hole in your strategy. Till next time, change your mindset, change your results.
Love this episode of the Fearlessly Fertile podcast? Subscribe now and leave an awesome review. Remember, the desire in your heart to be a mom is there because it was meant for you. When it comes to your dreams, keep saying hell yes.